President Donald Trump is lashing out at the New York Attorney General's office over its new lawsuit against the Trump Foundation. The lawsuit accuses the foundation and its directors, President Trump, Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka Trump, of violating state and federal laws concerning New York State charities for more than a decade. It also alleges improper political activity. President Trump responded today on Twitter by attacking, quote, sleazy New York Democrats and claiming that he won't settle the case. Ken Thomas is a White House reporter for the Associated Press and joins me now. Ken, the president says he's not going to settle. How complicated could this be for Mr. Trump and his family?
Well, it adds another layer to the president's legal problems. This is a case in which the New York Attorney General's office is saying that the foundation was essentially a piggy bank for the president, his campaign, his supporters. There's some examples that they have in the suit. You know, that in Iowa, for example, the campaign was directing certain grants from the charity. So it's something that just adds another layer of the legal quagmire that the president has been in for the last few months.
Ken, I want to ask you and switch gears for a second. President Trump is raising concerns for his defense of Kim Jong-un. Despite North Korea's really abysmal human rights record, I want to play a bite for you from an interview when he was asked about North Korea's executions.
Hey, when you take over a country with tough people, and you take it over from your father, I don't care who you are, what you are, how much of an advantage you have. If you can do that at 27 years old, I mean, that's 1 in 10,000 that could do that. So he's a very smart guy. He's a great negotiator. But I think we understand each other.
But I mean, he's still done some really bad things.
Yeah, but so have a lot of other people done some really bad things. I mean, I could go through a lot of nations where a lot of bad things were done.
So what's the message here, Ken, that the president, his defense of Kim Jong-un what does that send to the rest of the world?
Well, his critics will say that the president is reaching out to someone who has more than 100,000 political prisoners in his country, someone who has overseen a repressive regime. I think the president will argue, though, that 6 months ago he took a lot of heat for this charged rhetoric and that there were a lot of concerns that we could be on the brink of nuclear war. And now he has gotten to the process where he is actually talking to the North Koreans, and that this concern about some sort of war or nuclear battle has definitely been taken down a few notches. It's interesting that Mike Pompeo is in Beijing right now. He seems to be trying to provide more clarity on what the president agreed to and try to make the case and the point that the president is not going to willy-nilly make concessions, that he will require Kim Jong-un to really move in the direction of denuclearization. We'll have to see exactly how this agreement is followed through, and whether the North Koreans will actually do what they've said, which they haven't done in past years.
Yeah, that is a significant and important meeting there with his Chinese counterparts. I want to ask you, though, meanwhile, the president tweeted today, Ken, that the Republican Party is starting to show very big numbers. People are starting to see what's being done. Results are speaking loudly. That's from the president. Yesterday, Senator Bob Corker described his support as cult-like. What are the issues driving Republican support for Trump these days? And is North Korea really among that?
Yeah, it's an interesting development. I think what we saw in this race with Mark Sanford, the South Carolina congressman who lost in the primary, is that you run against President Trump, you speak out against President Trump at your own peril if you're a Republican. And Ronna McDaniel, the RNC chair, spoke about that. She got into a little hot water with the suggestion that you shouldn't oppose President Trump. But I think Republicans would argue that the president ran on a certain platform, and Republicans would be smart to back his agenda. They feel like he's starting to get things done here in the past year, and there's not a lot of support for people who are running against the president or speaking openly against the president in a primary. It's just the reality right now.
All right, Ken, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Rita.
Ken Thomas.